Fire Call, the fire safety show with Division Chief Jim Sedaris.
Hi, my name is Division Chief Jim Sedaris, and you are watching Fire Call from City of Sioux Falls Fire Rescue. We are all over the city this show. We're going to be visiting with the crews from Rescue 8, Captain Travis Tom, always a fun guy to be with. We're going to be out with the maintenance people, looking at how we do maintenance on trucks. We're going to hit a pretty good fire that we had, dead of winter, and we'll talk to some of the crews that were on that. We're also going to talk to Battalion Chief Bill Curry all about strategies, tactics, and how to look at the command aspect of the fire service. You're going to really learn a lot from all those people. Now, we've got some shout-outs. If we use your question or your shout-out, you're going to get a sassy and swanky Sioux Falls Fire Rescue t-shirt. Now, I got some shout-outs right here. We're going to start the show off with three pretty darn good shout-outs. First one's from Robert. Robert wants a shout-out to the Pottsville City Fire Department in Pennsylvania. This one's from Michael. Michael wants a shout-out to the Sailor Volunteer Fire Department and also the Explorers, and that would be in Iowa. And last is Corey. Corey wants a shout-out to the Plymouth, New York Volunteer Fire Department and the Plymouth Fire Explorers. So sit back, turn off all the electronic stuff. Don't make us come and turn it off for you. Hang with us and you're going to see some really cool stuff on Sioux Falls Fire Rescue. Winter firefighting can always be a challenge, and this morning we had a two-alarm structure fire, and I had the captain that was the first crew in, Captain Brad Olson. What did you see when you got here?
Well, we were actually about 2 blocks away. We could see smoke coming above the trees, and as we made around the corner here and was approaching the structure, we noticed more smoke, and then as we parked the apparatus, we noticed flames coming out of the Delta side of the structure. Okay, so we always name the side of a building Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, so the Delta side would be this side we're sitting right now. Now, this is kind of unusual because as you look at this building, there's parts of it that are under construction. How did you enter this building because there's no front door? Well, the fire was mostly towards the Alpha side, so we chose to enter from the Charlie side, and then so we weren't pushing the fire into unburned parts. So you came from the back of the house? Correct. And obviously the front door was inaccessible anyway, so... a lot of heat, fire going on? Yeah, there was no visibility, and there was about halfway in we could definitely sense a lot of heat coming from the ceiling. What are some concerns that you had when you were here? Probably the biggest concern was the structural stability and the safety of the crews. Now, do you have any problems with the weather at all? Well, yeah, there's always that trouble with ice buildup and not so much inside the structure with any weather problems because it's nice and warm in there. Now, you're one of our senior captains, a lot of experience, been around the block more than a few times, and you got one of your new firefighters. First fire. Yeah, he did a great job. How do you go about getting a new firefighter ready for that transition from the training center to real-world firefighting? Well, it has a lot to do with in-house training and training extra training at the training center. We have to maintain a certain level of number of hours per year of firefighter training, EMS training, and different disciplines. And you're hoping that they can pick it up as fast as it comes at them? Yeah, he's got a very experienced senior firefighter that's right on his tail too. So cracking the whip, hence the name, the whip. Senior firefighters. Well, let's introduce him and talk to Ryan. Okay, Ryan, how you doing?
Oh, good now.
First fire now. You hadn't even made your year yet, right?
A little bit over a year.
Really?
Yep.
First major two-alarm fire?
Yeah, first in. Yep.
We heard stories, so you can set the facts straight.
Oh boy.
How did it go for you? What were some of your concerns as being one of your first major fires?
It's a little bit different than the training center. Since training center you don't have as many obstacles as you do with some of these older houses. So you just try and get your way through the house, and with no visibility, it's tough, but make your way through it.
Did the training that you had pretty much get you ready for the things you're going to face here?
Oh yeah, yeah. It gave us a baseline, and every call we go on, it seems like you get a little more knowledge, and hopefully by the time I'm,
Oh, don't start, Ryan. You were good till you started pointing at me, buddy.
I was pointing to the people behind you.
Yeah. Now, you do know the tradition. First big fire.
Malts
for the house.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go to a
and
different...
chief officers, I think.
Yeah, I'll invite you out there.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot. Nice job.
Thank you.
We had quite a few questions about how do we maintain the fleet of fire trucks. We have a pretty big fleet of fire trucks. I have Dan Hartman. Dan is one of the mechanics up here, and you're going to answer all our questions.
Hi, Jim.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay. These first two questions, one's from Addison. Addison lives in Harrisburg, South Dakota. And the other one is Levi. Levi's, well, this has to be a good question because it's from Sioux Falls. Levi lives in Sioux Falls.
Okay.
And they want to know, how many mechanics do we have for Sioux Falls Fire Rescue?
There's two of us that work full-time, 40 hours a week, and then there's one part-time guy that works here about 24 hours a week.
So just to maintain our fleet of fire trucks, it's an all full-time job.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Now, now you're a mechanic for fire trucks. What qualifications do you have for doing this job?
Well, first of all, I went to trade school out of high school, so I took the 2-year auto and diesel mechanics training in a trade school. And after being hired in the fire department, I've been in training numerous times since then. The Colorado Fire Mechanics Association has an academy out in Greeley, and they put on week-long training each year, and Harv and I have each attended that numerous times.
So that's the specifics on things you need to look for working on fire trucks?
Yep. The classes will be specific. You can either take a pumps class, or you can take some welding classes, or chassis classes, or...
Because, people see our trucks rolling through the city, and they think a fire truck's a fire truck. But that's not the case.
Yeah.
We have ladder trucks and pumpers and tenders and the whole
Probably
works.
The most unique thing on fire apparatus versus other trucks is their electrical systems. And so you need specialized training in electrical.
What's the difference?
Well, these are multiplexed. The ones that we're currently using are multiplexed electrical systems on them. And so in order to turn the lights on the back of the truck, you're sending a signal back on, it's like a telephone wire, a twisted pair. It sends a signal back to a node, and the node relays the information and turns the light on, whatever.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I would ask why, but that might be more than Levi wants to know.
Okay.
Next two questions. First one comes from Brian. Brian lives in Newport Beach, California, and also Austin. Austin lives in Jacksonville, Florida. And they really want to know a lot about just maintaining the trucks, on what kind of scheduled maintenance program do we have, how often, and I was kind of wondering this, I like the question, even how often you change the oil in a fire truck, because they're not like an over-the-road truck where it's easy miles down the interstate. These are stop, start, pumping operations. They're really, I don't want to say use and abuse, but the difference.
We have two schedules that we go by, and one of them is a 16-week schedule for the heavier use vehicles, and the other one's a 26-week schedule for the vehicles that don't get used quite as often. And each time they come in, initially during the year, the cycle of the year, we'll do the oil changes, filter changes, fuel and oil and air, everything gets changed the first time through. And because we use a synthetic grade oil, we try and do an annual drain. So the oil actually only gets changed once a year.
Because it's synthetic?
Yeah. But everything else gets looked at. During the time between intervals when they come in, the firefighters are writing up on their truck check sheets the different things that are wrong or that they notice that need to be repaired on the trucks. And then when we bring them in here, then we take those sheets and go through each item one at a time.
And just make sure it all gets repaired, and then just kind of a cycle through then.
Yep. Okay,
this is our last question. This one's from Chris. Chris lives in Sioux Falls, and Chris wants to know, this is an interesting, Chris is a thinking person here. Chris wants to know, at a fire, how long does the fuel last? How big are the fuel tanks? How long do they last? And if we're at a long duration fire, can we potentially run out of fuel, and what do we do then? And it's one of those things that it's something to think about.
Sure. The trucks typically hold 50 to 60 gallons of fuel. And
they're all running diesel.
Yeah, they're all diesel fuel. And if they're pumping hard, like an aerial truck pumping at a fire with an elevated waterway, they're probably going to burn 8 to 10 gallons an hour.
Really?
And so they can run out of fuel at the scene. And if they start getting low, then we take our service truck out there. We've got fuel tanks on the back of the service truck for refueling.
And that has happened.
Oh, yeah.
So when we think about the fuel economy of a truck, it's not just the over the road, I get X number of miles to a gallon, but it's also pumping operations. Any kind of work we're doing with those trucks can also impact that miles per gallon.
Yeah.
Well, one question I know I'm going to get asked is, we're up here, up at the maintenance shop, we have a truck that's getting worked on. People are going to say, hey, if that truck's getting worked on, do we have an empty fire station someplace? Do we have a hole in the system? What do we do when we have a truck up for maintenance?
Well, we have enough reserve apparatus to fill in. We have 2 reserve pumpers, 1 reserve rescue truck, and 1 reserve aerial ladder truck.
So when we have one out in service,
yeah,
we can just shuffle in then another reserve.
Yeah. If they have a truck that needs to come in for an oil change or scheduled maintenance, then they'll take the reserve truck back to the station and fill in.
So they'll almost have a truck exactly what they're used to.
Right. Yeah.
And any time we've ever been down where all our reserves are.
Yeah, we've had a few times when we've used them all.
And that's when we really start to work those long hours and get everything taken care of.
Yep, exactly.
Well, Dan, thanks for your help. This is, I think, really enlightening, and I hope we got all the questions answered. For a while, we'll be back because we got that special section we're going to be working on for a couple of shows from now. That
okay.
We can't tell anybody, but it makes a lot of noise, and everybody wants to know how they work.
Okay.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep, you bet.
Got a lot of questions about managing the fire scene. I have the perfect person. I have Battalion Chief Bill Curry. Now, Bill has been around the fire service a long time. I've known Bill since before we were firefighters. Bill's a paramedic, been a paramedic before he got in the fire department. He's a registered nurse. You've been here for how many years, Bill?
Almost 22.
And you've done just about anything. And Bill can run and manage any kind of incident better than probably anybody in the country. So we got a great resource here. A lot of questions. I don't know what Bill's going to answer, so I'm kind of nervous on some of these. Okay, Bill, this first one comes from Sean. Sean lives in Columbia, Pennsylvania. And he wants to know, he's asking you this, Bill, not me. What do you think is who has the most important job, and what is the most important job on the emergency scene?
Well, Sean and everyone else, the most important person on the job has to be the incident commander, because without the incident commander establishing clear strategies and assigning tactical objectives, no other jobs can be accomplished.
And who has that job most often?
When I'm working and it's in my battalion, that's me.
There you go. Whew. Got through that first one pretty good. Okay, this question's from Joshua. Joshua lives in Pell City, Alabama. And also from Robert. Robert lives in Myersville, Pennsylvania. And they want to know about the Incident Command System. Now, it's either called ICS, the Incident Command System, or NIMS, the National Incident Management System. And do we use it in Sioux Falls? And can you explain how it works? And why is it important to use that?
Well, first off, yes, we use the National Incident Management System in Sioux Falls. Prior to being called NIMS, we referred to it as the ICS.
And some people still do.
And a lot of people still do. In the fire service, we've been practicing this form of incident management for over 40 years. It was developed in the fire service.
Primarily, what was it used for when it first started?
Managing wildfires, but it's been applied in all hazard events, from structure fires to tornadoes to hurricanes to even civil insurrection or something like that. It works well.
Now, what's the big concept of ICS or NIMS?
The big concept of NIMS is one voice, or a unified voice, disseminating orders and information.
And they're saying the clear direction of?
The clear direction to avoid duplicity, to avoid incorrect information being sent out. Along with that, ensures accountability of personnel, safety of personnel, and an increased resource utilization, meaning that we're not going to over-assign people to perform a specific task, or likewise have too few people performing a specific task. It's also predicated on the concept that you have one supervisor who in turn has a supervisor.
So we have a clear chain of command.
A clear chain of command, eventually terminating at the incident commander, or on large-scale incidents, multi-jurisdictional, probably in a unified command post.
And in Sioux Falls, we use ICS, or NIMS, from a single small structure to, and we can scale it up as large as we want to go.
Absolutely. A single uninvolved structure, usually the fire department is going to be the only major player in this type of a situation, and the fire department will provide the incident commander.
Now, if you have a large, let's say we have multi-agencies because for some reason we have a flooding operation going on, and instead of having just you in charge as the incident commander, what do we do then?
We'll team up with our counterparts in the respective agencies, and usually sitting, 2 or 3, maybe on some outside chances, maybe up to 4 people, but you would be termed a unified command. Any of the strategies that are derived inside that unified command post, they're cleared by all the other unified commanders, so that, again, just one message is sent out from the command post detailing what needs to be done.
Next question's from Shay. Shay lives in Marlboro, New Jersey, and Shay wants to know, what is the first action being done when scenes arrive on scene for a fire call?
Well, Shay, and to everybody else watching, first action on scene taken by crews when they arrive is an adequate and complete incident size-up, identifying exactly what it is that we're working with. After that, the next action that is taken is a formal command is announced.
Regardless of that first engine company, let's say.
The first officer on the scene who performs the size-up relays that size-up via the radio or whatever means to the other units responding. This is what we're working with. And then they assume command of the incident.
Now, when they assume command, Bill, which is perfect, why is that so vitally important?
Utilizing the incident command system, we're concerned about safety of responding personnel. We only have so many resources responding. The resources we have responding, we want to make sure that they're utilized to the full extent possible.
And if no one's in command,
formal command, people don't have those clear directions, and on another side of the incident, that might be that same task being accomplished by another unit. So establishing a command is basically setting up that initial box for the framework for the incident, from which all other assignments flow from.
When you're on scene and you're the incident commander, how do people find you? What's one way besides telling them their location? I'm looking, I don't know where you're at.
You look for the green
strobe
identifier. A lot of times it could be a green strobe light. It could be a green flag. It might be a green marker on a room or something like that if it was at a fixed facility.
So then we can easily identify what your location is.
Correct.
Okay, last question, Bill. This question is from Dustin. Dustin lives in Greenbrook, New Jersey. Dustin wants to know, what's the big difference between strategies and tactics? Because sometimes people get them confused. And I know you can set people straight easily.
The strategy is where my cognitive domain is situated, broad-based goals. I'm responsible for this entire incident, okay? I like to think of that as that's the whole pie, okay? But we cut a pie up into slices. Each one of those slices is a tactic,
right?
Okay? And the people underneath me, the captains, when they arrive, I will assign them a specific tactical objective to accomplish. Okay, so in essence, they get a piece of pie. From there, the people working underneath them, they will perform the tasks. And the tasks are
how they're going to eat that slice of pie.
Well, and how many bites they're going to take. But the tasks are what the firefighters are going to accomplish. That's what we watch on TV. That's what everybody cues in on, seeing the firefighters stretch the fire hose or see them force a door with a hydraulic spreader, or a ladder squirting water or something like that. But the cognitive domain where I'm at is way above that into strategy.
What happens? I don't mean to interrupt you. What happens now if you, as the incident commander, should be thinking up here, starts to drift down into telling people, here's how I want you to open that door.
That's the worst possible thing an incident commander can do on the scene.
Why is that?
Because the incident commander develops that tunnel vision, and you have to stay ahead of this incident. And really the only way to stay ahead of the incident is to keep that wide panorama and continually collect and evaluate data coming in.
Now you know all those as moving up through the ranks, but when you hit the rank of chief officer, your focus really has to be that broad scene control.
You have to change. We're all comfortable performing the tasks of wearing the SCBA or treating the critically ill and injured and doing specific interventions. What we have to do, and in rather short order, because with you and me, there's not a whole lot of time left for us, we have to learn to change our thought processes to think up in those higher levels, the strategies. That's where our domain has to be.
So, and this is for all those people thinking about promoting up to chief officer's ranks. The big difference then between being a great captain and then moving up to a white helmet and being a chief officer is going to be that thought process then.
The thought process.
And how we manage the scene rather than getting right from the task. You really need to develop those big picture strategies.
Develop your cognitive domain in developing good, measurable, sound strategies.
So we have to actually increase our bandwidth when we start thinking about becoming a chief officer of that scene size up, the whole what can happen, and then having a plan B and working all the way through that.
Correct. But it also hinges on you having good people below you.
And who trains those people?
The chiefs.
You bet.
Are responsible for it.
Bill, I got to admit, it's always fun talking to you. I think you covered it great. And if you have questions about ICS, NIMS, fire them in, and we'll get Bill back on. Thanks, Bill. Got a lot of questions about what do firefighters carry in a fire. This question comes from Ian, and Ian lives in Morristown, Vermont, and also from Brian. Brian lives in Independence, Kansas. And they both ask the same questions. What kind of tools does the average, and we have the average firefighter, carry with them in a fire? Now I have Captain Travis Tom. Trav, you're in charge of Rescue 8 today.
Yes, sir.
Action Station 8.
Yes.
Ready for the question?
Let's do it.
Okay, now you got to introduce your favorite firefighter of the station to help us out.
All right. Well, this is above average, Ryan Davis.
How far above?
Way above.
Okay.
Way above.
And this is what basically an average firefighter is going to carry with him.
Into a fire. Yep. In his one pocket there, he's got an adapter for electrical. In some of the old homes we go into, doesn't have the old ground fault, and all of our fans and tools anymore have 3 prongs, so he has an adapter there. He has a multi-purpose tool in his hand there. It has pliers, knife blades, some screwdriver attachments, and some trauma shears. He also carries a 30-foot piece of webbing with a carabiner on there to do multiple things with just slinging small loads at fires, and also a hose rope tool to fasten hose to ladders or outside of building windows.
Especially if we're doing, having the ladder or having the hose line off a ladder. It's pretty common when we're on tied in. That's kind of a handy little carrying case he has there.
Yeah, you should patent that.
Make that in the spare time.
Yeah. In there, this is pretty common for most of your firefighters to carry some sort of pliers, vice grips, lineman shears of some sort to cut wire, screwdrivers that have Phillips and straight heads, and then an Allen wrench tool set. That's pretty common. So.
And tell us about the case. Oh, ouch.
Uh-oh.
The case is made from
That's a 2.5-inch hose there, Jim. That you just when our hose gets old, they or broken, they have to cut sections off and a piece of duct tape.
So he's been scrounging the cans. And
yep, he's a MacGyver. And then
now what's with it? Everyone's going to ask me, what's with the little wedge of wood?
Little door chocks there, or sprinkler blocks. Some people would use them for. That one there is probably too big for that. But door chocks in a lot of our, when the fire alarms are going off in most buildings, the doors close in our commercial buildings, and we sometimes have to chock them to get hoses or equipment through.
And you also want to chock them so you can get out of a security building too.
Sure.
If the door's locked behind you.
Locked behind it, yep.
And show us a spanner wrench, Ryan. And that just folds up.
Quick spanner wrenches, yep. Those are pocket ones, and we have bigger ones on the truck. That's pretty much the average firefighter, what they carry for tools in their pockets.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Trav. Hope you had a good time watching the show. A lot of neat questions, and the questions are what really make the show, so keep sending them in. We got some quick shout-outs. This shout-out goes to it's from Nick. Nick wants a shout-out to the Hanover, Ohio Volunteer Fire Department. Scott wants a shout-out to the West Potsdam Volunteer Fire Department in New York. And Ethan wants a shout-out to the Arcadia Volunteer Fire Company Juniors in Maryland. Now, of course, you get the sassy shirt. Appreciate all your questions. Now we have something really kind of special. One of our fire call viewers is Mauricio. Mauricio is a firefighter from Chile. He has sent us exclusive pictures from the earthquake, and we've been corresponding by email back and forth. So we really feel for those firefighters in Chile, and our prayers are with you. And if there's anything we can do, fire off some emails, and we'll keep answering the questions. My name is Division Chief Jim Sedaris, and you've been watching Fire Call.